powerhouse, Von Radio, for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on Nevis. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving Nevis forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
Good evening. We are in the month of March and it's another Thursday, and I am Jaedee Caines, delighted to be here with you for another edition of Speak Up. Speak Up is this and every Thursday on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse Von Radio. It's a 30-minute program from 6:30 p.m. where we seek to address issues of national interest. Rohan is usually here in the studio with me, and I expect him to be joining me shortly as we have some issues that we would like to discuss. But of course, as always, I will begin by offering congratulations to all who may be celebrating at this point in time. Allow me to start off with the graduating class of 2021. Yes, 2021, even though we are in the year 2022. It's the class of 2021 at the Charlestown Secondary School and Nevis Sixth Form College, and we are so proud of our students. They graduated this week on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, yesterday in the morning we had the students of the Charlestown Secondary School, a little over 100 students graduating. It was a wonderful ceremony held at the Cultural Village in Charlestown. And then in the afternoon at 3, we had the students of the Nevis Sixth Form College. A little over 50 students graduated. So we just want to offer congratulations to the graduates, of course, the principal and staff of the Charlestown Secondary School, and the very supportive parents and guardians and other well-wishers. You know, collectively we help to mold these children, and so we should equally celebrate when they do well. So congrats again to the graduating class of 2021. I also want to say congratulations to the students of the St. James Primary School, the Cicely Brown Integrated School, as well as the Joycelyn Liebert Primary School. And I say congratulations to them because they have been the stars this week. So the St. James Primary School students started the ball rolling when they hosted their annual sports meet. Yes, it's supposed to be an annual sports meet, but you know, we were on a sabbatical for about 2 years, just about. And so the students had some time at home, but they returned to the track this week and they put on a spectacular show for spectators over there in the St. James Parish. And I just want to commend the students for their bravery, and I commend the teachers and the coaches and all who played any part in this. And of course, yesterday we had the students of the Cicely Brown Integrated School, the school with the children of the special needs, and they are indeed special. And we are just so proud of all that they continue to do. I am so happy that they continue to host a sports meet because, you know, the Special Olympics is a big thing. And so we are so pleased that our children of the Cicely Brown Integrated School continue to get an opportunity to showcase their skills. So awesome. And JLPS, the Joycelyn Liebert Primary School, formerly the Gingerland Primary School, they are actually, as we speak, hosting their sports meet over at the Nevis Athletic Stadium, known to many of you as the Mondo Track. So I wish to congratulate them in advance for being able to host their sports meet, and of course their coaches and teachers as well. I'll pause here and go across and say good evening to my colleague, Mr. Rohan Iles. Rohan, good evening.
Good evening, Jaedee. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. What about yourself?
I'm doing well. It's another wonderful Thursday, and we're in the company of our regular listeners and those who are joining us for the first time. As usual, let me extend congratulations to those who are celebrating this evening, an anniversary, a birthday, anything like that. I'm not sure if you're covered, but the St. Kitts Nevis under 20 national squad has made it to the round of 16.
Awesome.
And so a few more stages to go for that qualification for World Cup. Caines Archibald would have picked up a wicket against the touring English team, and of course, you know, the touring English team, that is the pro level, and so that is good for him, build his spirit.
Yes.
Onaje Amri is also on or among those players, he was invited to bowl, to do some netballing to the British team. And I'm hoping that, he can be another Fidel Edwards. And for those of us who know the story of Fidel Edwards, he was invited to bowl in the nets and bowled a few to Brian Charles Lara, prolific West Indian left-handed batsman, and the rest is history. And so hoping Onaje can get some of that good luck as well. It's sports time.
Yes.
We've had a few sports already. St. James's, and I think Cicely Brown integrated will have joined the mix at the moment. Joycelyn Library Primary is just about wrapping up the sports meet.
Yes.
They're at the Mondo track. Tomorrow is Ivor Walters Primary.
Is it? No, next week. Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Not this Friday.
Okay.
Tomorrow is cross country at Charleston.
Cross country
yes,
at Charleston.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll pick up the sports next week.
Yeah, next week you get into the ultimate best of the best, and you get down to next week Wednesday, St. Thomas's Primary.
Your girls, your girls will be on show.
It's good to be here. As usual, we continue to encourage our people to speak up.
Yes. Rohan, we have some stuff that we want to talk about tonight. And before I get into that, I don't want to forget offering condolences to all who mourn at this point in time, particularly the family of Patricia Williams, known to many of us as Teacher Pat. Yes. And she's the wife of Fitzroy Williams, known to many of us as Teach.
Yeah.
One of her granddaughters was my very close friend in school, so I know her quite well. Just want to say condolences to the entire family, all who mourn. That's a very close-knit family. They live in close proximity to each other, because we have the Huggins next door, and you have the Caines a little bit down. So we want to offer condolences to that entire family. Also, I know that the Polius family is aggrieved at this point in time, is bereaved at this point in time, and so we want to extend condolences to the Polius family, Teacher R.J. Polius, and all others who mourn at this point in time. So we just hope that you find comfort in fond memories. So everyone who is mourning at this point in time, please accept our deepest sympathy. Now, Rohan, I know you continue to do a lot of visits in your community. Maybe I shouldn't say visits, engagements, because you're not visiting your community, you're engaging with the people of your community, as I have been doing. And I have realized that, you would hear some persons say they're not interested in voting.
Yep.
They don't want to vote, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of licks in the voting scene. I just don't want to do it. I'd rather just take a step back. You hear that a lot, at least I hear that a lot with persons I'm close to. Do you hear the same thing, Rohan?
Yeah, I do. And what is interesting, it's on the two ends of the voting spectrum. You get those who are, at the older end, and then those at the younger end, or the youngest end.
Yes.
And it is surprising, especially in the younger category, where young people will tell you politics isn't their thing. Not interested in voting. The older ones will give you, in my part, they'll give you a life story as to why.
Yes.
They as they would say, they've done their part, and that is part of the message we have been trying to get to young people. In that, those individuals, with respect, they have played their part. They have voted. They have impacted the generations ahead of them, and it is now time for the younger people to really, stand up and say, listen. The direction this island goes in the next 10 to 15 years is dependent on us.
Correct.
In this particular generation. And, I see it as an opportunity to engage and to show people why it is important to vote.
So I'm glad that you raised that. I'm very happy that you raised that. I believe that there are some consequences of not voting. Before we can even talk about why persons should vote, I think it is important to let people know that there are some consequences of you not voting. So if you choose not to vote, I'm not going to be mad at you, because that's your choice. You can't be mad at me what style here I wear. That's your choice.
Right.
But understand that there are consequences to your decision not to vote.
Yep.
What are some of these consequences? Well, you, when you decide not to vote, are relinquishing your say in terms of what happens in the island. And when I say that, I mean, yes, you can comment, but you did not help to chart, you did not help to create that direction for the island to go. And Rohan, correct me if I'm wrong, because when you decide you're not going to vote, that means you're comfortable with whatever happens.
Yeah.
And yes, you may say, well, sometimes I vote and what I want doesn't happen. That is true. But sometimes it happens, and sometimes you don't know if this is the time that it would happen. But when you decide not to vote because you're fed up of voting, you've been burned before, it's just not your thing, you only wanted a voter's ID, whatever the reason, you are relinquishing your say in what happens on the island of Nevis. So my people, I encourage you to vote. What is another consequence to persons not voting, Rohan?
You know, if I can just piggyback off of what you said, which I get a lot of. People say they're not going to vote because they would have voted and what they were hoping for they didn't get. And I think we have spoken about this quite time and time again. It is the fact that the governance issue or the governance part of the politics is missing.
Correct.
The governance tells us, and I've said this a million times, that we ought to seek to ensure that people get some level of what they want.
Correct.
You will not get all of what you want, but everybody should be satisfied at some. This is the basic level. Everybody can say, okay, well, we can accept this, and this is minimum, but this is fine. That isn't happening. We are getting parts and parcel where some people are so far ahead, and then there are some people who are left struggling. People don't like to hear people talk about being poor and in poverty, but that is the reality. If we are to govern Nevis in a way that makes the governance model obvious enough to people, that people are benefiting from that, then people are going to vote. People and say, you know what, all right, NRP came in and NRP really put the governance model in place, and even though I wanted 10 apples, we were able to agree that 3 apples each would be good enough or would be satisfactory until the next time. You see, when you don't vote, ultimately you're relinquishing that power that you have to chart a direction, as you said.
Correct.
To chart a course.
Correct.
Now, people say, going to vote ain't going to make a difference. You look at numbers where, in a constituency, the number of people who did not vote
surpasses
people who voted.
Yes.
And so the silent people are the ones in the majority of non-control.
Correct.
The minority has the control because they are the ones who went out.
Correct.
To vote.
Correct. And
so
that is an issue.
Yeah.
That is an issue.
Front and center. And so you have got to look at it at a position. Listen. And you know, as you said, the time really to vote is now. And the time and the reason is that, you know, the NRP believes in governance, in that good governance model that allows our people, all our people, to get some level of satisfaction from the work that the government is putting in. And that is not a case where we are picking and choosing who eats, as you like to say. Everybody
must eat.
Everybody must eat. And your vote and your voting gives power to that kind of philosophy.
Another thing I think too, Rohan, that when you choose not to vote, your children and your grandchildren, our children and our grandchildren, have to face the consequences. And what do I mean by that? You may say, as somebody told me recently, nobody voted for me, and so I'm not voting for my children, let them vote for themselves. That is not
But
so,
that's not true, though.
Remember, when you vote no, we are trying to put things in place that will benefit the children down the road.
Yep.
We are not looking for things just today, tomorrow, and the next day. We aren't a microwavable party. We are the Nevis Reformation Party. We are here for the long haul. And so we like to tell people that your children and grandchildren's futures depend on what you do today. It that depends on what you do today. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, what about your children and grandchildren? And I know as a parent myself that we want better for our children. We don't want our children to have to come and fight as hard as we have to fight. I can't say fought because we're still fighting. We don't want our children to have to come and struggle as hard as we are struggling. We don't want our children to come and be as clueless or as silent as we continue to be. We want more for our children. I am often baffled when I realize how we are so engaged in what's happening around the world.
Oh, man.
How we are so engaged in what's happening in the political landscape of other countries and islands around the world, in some cases places that we've never been. However, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, but this is the kicker, we can't be bothered with what happens right here. And there's an old saying, you must dance a yard before you dance abroad. And so I am saying you have to become interested and involved in the affairs of your own island. It is you who live here and will continue to live here. So why are you so taken up with what is happening in Ukraine and Russia, in their war, in their tension, in their drama, their conflict that's happening right now? But you don't realize that we are in conflict, we are in a war right here on the island of Nevis. And we are in a war because we're not fighting necessarily against each other in the physical sense, but we are fighting for the future of our children, and that should make us want to get involved, Rohan.
You know, very, 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 very true. And you know, I look and we have such brilliant ideas and solutions and analysis of what is happening across the globe, especially now in Russia and Ukraine. And we talk about the possible trickle-down effect of what is happening there. Of course, now we see the oil crisis that is facing us globally. We talk about Russia and Venezuela's maritime military exercise most recently, and how that could affect the Caribbean. But our people need to recognize that power to analyze what is happening globally is just as good to analyze what is happening locally. Use that power you have. And the power rests in not just the analysis, but in the vote. And if you can see all of these things wrong with Putin, and all of these things wrong with the Ukrainian president and whoever else, then you must be able to see, and must be able to analyze, and must be able to come to a single conclusion this time around, that there is something fundamentally wrong in the leadership of this island.
Correct.
And in order to change that, you must vote. And you've got to vote green.
Rohan, to switch gears a little bit, I know that we have quite a few young persons, some younger than you and I are, who have not really been into the political landscape, where they haven't even been following what's happening. It's just not their thing. And so they have now they have now become voters, members of the electorate in a CCM administration. And so their memory only takes them back to CCM being in government. They can't relate to an NRP administration because NRP was in office until 2013, if I'm not mistaken, Rohan. Yes. And so for some persons, they were still in school. They weren't really too concerned with what was happening. You see, all like me, I was really following this thing long time. But everybody doesn't do that. You've been following it very long, deep into it. Everybody does not do that. And so I understand and appreciate persons like that. So what I try to do is to highlight some of the things, or some of the ways rather, that an NRP administration has offered opportunities for our people. And one of the things that stands out to me is skills training. It doesn't matter whether it has been 10 years or it is something current. Skills training remains relevant. It remains relevant. It was relevant then. I think it is even more relevant now. If you don't believe me, look at how many persons lost jobs working in industries that as far as they were concerned, helped to sustain them, and they made a comfortable living. Look at how many persons lost jobs. Persons have had to resort now to being entrepreneurs, which is good, and many are now trying to learn a skill. But skills training was one of the ways that the Nevis Reformation Party in government was able to provide opportunities for our people. Another one, I think, to Rohan, was the housing revolution. Yes, we still have a housing program here on the island of Nevis, and it will be around. However, I'm talking about a housing revolution. The NRP didn't just build houses, we constructed homes. The NRP didn't just put down buildings, we created communities. Look at Cherry Garden. That is a community put down by the Nevis Reformation Party. We have housing all over the island of Nevis. We built communities. But it's not just about the physical structures, because the CCM, to their credit, has built some houses as well. So to their credit. But it's not just about putting down structures. We ensured that the housing was affordable. And that is why I say it was a housing revolution. We had so many homes, scores and scores of homes. I mean, persons in neighboring islands were being jealous of Nevis. Little Nevis, 36 square mile, was the envy of the OECS. And you heard other country and island leaders saying it, that they have to model what is happening in Nevis as far as housing is concerned, Rohan.
Yes. As far as Donna's Barbados, I think.
Yes.
Who was very interested in the model that is Cherry Garden. You're so right. A lot of what NRP has done, and the emphasis on that revolution.
Yes.
The land ownership revolution was NRP.
Yes.
And it goes back to what I've said before, that it is continually the NRP who has come to the rescue of the island of Nevis, time and time again.
Correct.
And Simeon Daniel Joseph Parry, and I keep saying it will have to be a Janice Daniel Hodge who bring us out of the struggles we are in now. And the opportunities are going to come through a new thrust in economic, well, I can use the word revolution. It is going to be an economic revolution.
Yes.
Under Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. The opportunities, and you said skills training, and just to show you how important it is, go back and look at all the campaigns in our has run. Skills training remain an integral part of how we push that party agenda, because we understand the value therein. And as you would have said, and I have said before, it is the human impact that is critical. And we can put down all the fancy infrastructure we want, but there has to be value to people. And that is part and parcel of the opportunity the NRP has brought to the visions. When we talk about scholarships and going off to university and getting financial assistance, the NRP didn't or couldn't be bothered if you're pink, blue, orange, black, yellow, white.
Correct.
The fact that you were in a vision seeking to advance yourself, the NRP was pushing. And I can tell you stories where J.W. Parry got angry with people who didn't want to go to university.
Yes.
And because he felt and he understood that provided an opportunity for you to advance yourself and to advance your families.
Yes.
And so when we can go back to a lot of things, Jaedee. We talk about the community centers, but we didn't just put them down.
Yes.
We had programs attached to those.
But look at these same community centers, Rohan.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you wink at something at a community center, when it's not revenue generation for the administration, the community centers are being used to host events for persons in the community to help advance themselves.
Yeah.
These centers, as you like to say, were fit for purpose.
Has to be.
They were fit for purpose. We also had the homework assistance program. You know how many parents were grateful to receive that level of assistance for their children? I mean, it was phenomenal. And one of the things I was telling a constituent just recently, that definitely under an NRP administration, and me in St. Paul's specifically, I want to see that coming back.
It has to.
And not just homework assistance. Because there's some parents who say, man, after 3:30, we're not going to do any schoolwork. We're going to do something else. But there's always something to learn. I believe that. I try to learn as much as I can. Every opportunity I get, you're never too old to learn. And so there are certain things that our children can be exposed to after school as well.
Yeah, there was a part of that program, right? And the potential for the program, and every year, every term, we looked at ways of improving the delivery from the homework program. And we encourage people to get their children into the program.
Yes.
Class participation went up tremendously. I know that for a fact at my school, because when children can come back to school having completed their homework, they're a lot more comfortable and they're a lot more engaged, because they know they have the answers to what the homework was, because a teacher was helping them.
Correct.
And so as you rightfully said, there is so much more that could have been added to the homework assistance program. I mean, we could have added values and skills at a young age, and virtues and all of these things.
And it's not too late. It's not too late.
It's not too late, and then the government is returning. And you know, it was sad when we learned that the program was just discontinued, just stop, you know. But all of that is in the vein of what the NRP has done in the past and will look to continue to do in the future, because there is value in the programs that were set out for our young people. You know, Jaedee, you said that this particular generation, the new one, they may not be aware of the things NRP did, but I can guarantee you the NRP's footprint has impacted those young people in the generation now. If you go back and have conversations on basic things, you can tie certain things to programs by the NRP.
Correct.
And that is how governance works, really, is that you don't often see it in the now. It is down the line you begin to see the impact and how people are changing and how people are advancing in life. And that is what we are saying.
Rohan, before, at the start of this show, I congratulated the students of the Navy Sixth Form College who recently graduated. And it was over 50 persons who graduated. I remember I would have heard stories. I wasn't born yet. But I remember hearing that it was the NRP that would have ensured that we had a Navy Sixth Form College. But to go further, to go further, under the leadership of Mr. Joseph Parry, we had some restructuring done to the Navy Sixth Form, because we realized quite a number of children were leaving school too early. Not necessarily because of their age, but because they weren't equipped. And so they had some restructuring done to ensure that more children would be able to qualify and go to the Navy Sixth Form College. And look, now we are reaping the benefits. Additionally, the NRP built the first health center in Nevis in years, because we had health centers, and we still do have health centers that have been around forever. They are archaic, they need renovating, and the NRP did a complete overhaul there in Brown Hill. I mean, I am telling you, the NRP has provided opportunities for our people. And as we wind down, we are trying to show the persons who are our age and maybe younger that yes, we understand that all you've seen is the CCM because you grew up in an era where CCM was in power. That's fine. But we want you to open your minds now and look around you. We've shared some, but look around you and ask, who did that? Rohan, in my closing, I'll say, one of the things that really stood out for me, and I actually penned an article on it on my own, talking about the fact that we were renaming Nevis in honor of Nevisians. We had the community centers named after people who are Nevisians who did work, contributed to our island. We had roads named after these people, sporting facilities named after these people. I mean, amazing. Your final words, Rohan.
Yeah, I mean, NRP has always been that party that seeks to advance human development. You know, when I reflect on some of the people who graduated, I'm sure they benefited from the homework assistance program.
Yes.
Just rocking my memory there. But in anything you do, there is the element of politics. It's just to break down the semantics and get to understand what is and what isn't. But really and truly, I just want to encourage young people. Young people who can vote, Go out and vote. That is your power.
Yes.
That is your absolute power. Go out and vote and be the change you desire. And we hope that, we can have more conversations with you so you can get a better understanding of where you are. As usual, it's good to be in your company. Another Thursday, we continue to encourage you to speak up.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being with us. Remember to come out on Saturday morning at 7, right there just before Happy Endings for a new to you sale, another new to you sale. Really, really cheap, items, new and gently used. You won't want to miss that. Have a wonderful evening. This has been Speak Up with Jaedee Caines and Rohan Isles. Good night.